Welcome back to the MLB Strategy Show from Awesemo.com. A little bit of an audible this morning. No Josh Engelman, as I think the description still says. It is a familiar face, though. I'm Jake Hari, joined by the namesake of the site, Alex Awesemo Baker, who's coming off, as we'll get into in just a minute, pretty good night over on a couple sites last night. Alex, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. Jake, thanks for jumping in here too, because we got all these tropical storm situations on the East Coast, so that's affecting some more guys. Hope everyone watching is staying safe out there, because it sounds like a rough time with power outages and stuff. But I'm wondering, man, do you think that's going to affect tonight's slate as far as DFS? Because maybe the logistics for some people aren't going to be quite as good as normal.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Looking at it here, so there's a couple East Coast games. I'm not great with geography, but like Eastern time zones, so like Washington in DC, and then Atlanta. I don't know if any of those have been affected, so maybe we'll take a look at the old Awesemo weather account, which you run. I should all be following. If you like DFS, I mean, if Alex is giving advice about what he's doing with weather and putting, a lot of money behind, his advice, then I think it should be good enough for everyone else as far as just kind of following what he's saying, tell you the risk factors and all that. So we'll have that updated. It doesn't look bad for those two games so far. Those two on their main slate. Baltimore is another one, but it doesn't look like that one's going to be on the main slate either. We are presented by SuperDraft. The future of daily fantasy sports has arrived. That is multiplier mode over on SuperDraft. I've been having a lot of fun playing some NHL over there. Alex been playing some MLB, NBA. They've got good tournaments for pretty much everything. And the best part is, you're not restricted by salary. So the multiplier kind of evens the playing field for some of the lesser players. So you can play all the studs, but you're rewarded even more by going a little bit off the board on SuperDraft. So that's kind of been my favorite part. And, the overlay has been really good. So if you like playing plus EV contests, if you're getting started, or even if you're just looking for some more volume, I think SuperDraft is a great place to play. And then when you sign up, use promo code Awesemo10. It's $10 free on it. Your first deposit of $10 more, and $20 free if you deposit $100 or more. Awesemo10 is that promo code. How's it been going on SuperDraft and with all these sports, just in general? How busy have you been, Alex, so far?
It's been a lot of fun. I mean, having MLB and NBA back at the same time, and NHL as well. I know you've been kind of dabbling in MLB, NHL, I presume, and then I've been doing mostly NBA and MLB. So it's like you get to play all your favorite sports. Maybe like some of your third favorites aren't as easy, but SuperDraft, I really like that they're trying something different with the lock times to not lock at the same time as FanDuel and DraftKings, and that just makes it a lot easier because we always recommend, play as many sites as you can, because that allows you to kind of differentiate your lineups and still put out your best lineup at every site. And having Fantasy Cruncher for all those makes it really easy, because just pop them in, the projections, set my stack, and hit crunch, and I'm pretty much good to go.
Yeah, I love it. We've got an absolutely jam-packed day of shows. So obviously, the MLB show right now, 10 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Eastern. So this will be a kind of an abbreviated MLB strategy show. We got to get out of here about 5 to 10 minutes before the top of the hour. That'll be Laffy. And then, Alex, I think you're running that one back, the NBA show right after this. So you'll see a lot of the man, the myth, the legend.
Hopefully people don't get too sick of me. That's my only concern here.
I don't think you got to worry about that. Possibly an NHL show if we can figure out how to do that, if we can sneak one in. NBA live before lock. Lock for NBA is at 12:30 Central, 1:30 Eastern. So that'll come on around 12:30 Eastern. PGA Strategy Show, Ben Raza and Tim Frank. Tonight, live before lock, Spags, and yourself again. Is this right? 3 shows for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to help out where I can with this this weather situation, but we'll see how the schedule shakes out later.
And then I'm sure you're going to take everyone's money at night playing DFS. So a bunch of shows all day, and then he can do it all. Let's see. Let's go to lineup study from last night. Speaking of doing it all, last night Alex took down the 350K walk-off in MLB, maxed it out, 21 lineups, $555 a piece. Profit of $97,000 in this tournament, 100K top prize. One thing I noticed, Alex, and I think in general you do this a lot better than other players. Like I'm seeing some people at the top who had a bunch of lineups only use like 25, 30, 40 players. And yeah, you had the max lineups, but you used 67 players. Is that something you intentionally try to do in these 20 max contests? Use a large player pool?
Yeah, I mean, in MLB, it's just like you never know what stack's going to go off on a given day. So I just pretty much try to make my best stacks for a variety of different teams. I mean, it really matters. You got to hit both stacks if you're double stacking. So 7 different combinations in each lineup, I think, is a good idea. And usually, like, the best stacks aren't that much better than like the next best stacks. So having exposure to a lot of different ones makes sense. Last night was interesting because we had that Coors Field game with 2 really bad teams, but it had like a 13 team total, so that was a big decision point. Yeah, it was pretty interesting slate, I think.
Yeah, trying to get to your winning lineup here. I clicked on something in lineup slate. So your winning lineup was a 4-man White Sox stack with a 3-man Yankees, and then you had Garrett Cole, who didn't do well, but he got you through the lineup construction you needed. Frankie Montas was your pitcher, and then Chadwick Tromp was your one-off catcher, 16 points. It looks like a pretty standard lineup. I mean, I was on both the White Sox and the Yankees yesterday using the projections on the sites. And so I don't think you did anything crazy. You didn't like cap ownership or anything super low, 181% total ownership for this lineup. So just doing it better than everyone else. So congrats to Alex, and let's hope he does it again tonight. Unless you're in the same tournaments with him, then maybe you guys will.
Well, let me just throw out one piece of info on this lineup because I think this is important. So I can't add it all in my head, but was it 50K in salary?
Let's see here. It was 49,800.
Oh, okay. Well, that kind of undermines my argument here, I guess, a little bit. But okay, so the thing is, Chadwick Tromp was 3,600. Yasmani Grandal for the White Sox was 4,700. Gary Sanchez for the Yankees was 4,800. So the way I could complete this lineup is I would have to put in James McCann as batting 6. And let's see, I had him about equal as Chadwick Tromp. So that probably would have been a smart move, but it worked out for me this time. But the point I was going to make is that if you can't complete your 5-3, like your lineup's going to be a lot more contrarian if you don't stack every single player. And just going 4-3 instead of 5-3, like maybe you can make a contrarian lineup with 2 popular stacks because a lot of people aren't running that stacking.
Yeah, so just that one differentiation point was the difference in this lineup, and it made the difference from 100K to maybe a top 5 or top 10. I don't know how McCann performed. I'm assuming he did okay, but I think you cleared that. You cleared that lineup. You cleared the rest of the lineups in that tournament by quite a few points. So maybe if anybody was in there, but it was the lineup construction that helped you take that down. So congrats again, and let's get into the games here. Let me pull up we're going to start with Mets and Nationals. We've got a 4.1 implied total for the Mets, 5 for the Nationals. Steven Matz and Patrick Corbin, 7-4 for Mats, 10-4 for Corbin. Over on DK, a bunch of questionable players for the Mets. I see Rosario, McNeil, who got scratched yesterday very late. So hopefully you guys got him out of your lineups. And then Cano is also a question mark on the Nationals side. I think we've got Kendrick batting third, but he's also questionable against the lefty. That could make the difference if you're looking to stack up some Nationals. What do you think of these pitchers in this game? Is Corbin a little bit too expensive, or is he a guy you're going to be targeting?
So Corbin is a little bit expensive because we know he's a great pitcher, but not elite. And the Mets are not a great matchup because the projected lineup has fewer strikeouts than your typical team. Of course, now that NL has a designated hitter, we can't expect these NL pitchers to get quite as many strikeouts per game. So 10.4K, I mean, that's the price I'd balk at for Patrick Corbin to begin with because he's not a guy that throws 30% or more Ks. So if you really like a cheap stack, I can see going to him, but I don't really love it. I don't know. How do you feel about Corbin?
Yeah, he's all right. I think we're kind of loaded with some good pitching options today. You've got, I mean, if you can handle, and I mean, that's even before you look at like Coors. Marquez is probably in play just from a strikeout perspective compared to his price. Always scared to play him in Coors, but you've got Lamet, who's a huge strikeout guy. Dustin May, possibly on the other side. I think there's a lot of good options for cheap. Now, Corbin is probably one of your better options. I'm guessing when the projections come out, he's going to be up there in terms of raw points. But like you mentioned, you're going to need a cheaper stack to go with him. So probably won't be a staple of my lineups. Things could change by lock, and he could potentially see a really poor Mets lineup if all these guys are out. Rosario, McNeil, and Cano. So I'll be keeping an eye on the lineup to see ultimately what I'm going to do with Corbin, but I don't think he's going to be a big building block of mine. What about my nemesis, Steven Matz, $7,400 here, going up against the Nationals, 5 implied total against him. Is he a guy we can even consider?
I mean, I don't think so because he's definitely not a great pitcher. Like we know from playing him in DFS that he's pretty inconsistent. So he's decent at strikeouts, but this matchup versus the Nationals also is pretty bad for strikeouts. So I don't really see a lot of value in Mats.
Yeah, I don't mind some Nats bats going against him. Kendrick, if he's in the lineup at 3,700, looks to be one of the better values of the day. I kind of like Soto, even lefty at 4,900. So I can see myself getting to some Nats bats here, and that's about it. Potentially some Corbin, but I really want to see what happens with this Mets lineup. Anything else left in this game before we move it on?
Let's see. I think the Washington bats maybe I consider since they're facing Mats. They look like you got some really good values, especially when you take Trey Turner and Juan Soto out of the equation. Pretty much every guy is projecting for well over 2x. So they seem to be a stack that will be really popular tonight, if I had to guess. I guess I could just look at our ownership projections too, but it's more fun just going by eye test here. They have a 5.2 team total. So that isn't really excellent in the context of this slate. So they might be a good team to fade just because they're going to pop in your optimizer.
Yeah, I mean, Kendrick getting 20+% ownership, he might not even be in the lineup. But if he is, probably going to be popular, just dual position eligibility at 3,700, batting third against the lefty. So outside of that, it's not too crazy on the first run of ownership here. Yan Gomes picking up some at the catcher position. But you're seeing like Soto at 2.2% right now. That looks pretty good to me if you're stacking some Nationals. And like you said, probably not. I mean, it's not a fantastic total, 5 here. Like you've got a Coors game. You've got some other good spots with higher totals. So I kind of like mixing it up and getting Soto in that stack, you are going to go to the Nationals and Kendrick and Gomes and guys like that.
I like it. Yeah, I mean, Soto, we know he's an excellent player, and the fact that he's like the worst value on the team means that maybe a lot of people who are building using optimizers won't land on him. So,
all right, anti-optimizer play. I don't even remember who coined that phrase. Was it Lofty or was it you? I can't remember. I think it was on the Deeper Dive last year at some point, and just kind of stuck.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, it's just kind of a group effort here, so we come up with all sorts of BS every day, and then whatever sticks, that's what we run with. And remember, so it's easy.
All right, let's go to the Blue Jays and the Braves. 3.9 implied total here. For the Blue Jays, 5.2 for the Braves. Braves are minus 175 favorites right now. Matt Shoemaker and Max Fried on the mound here. 7,900 for Shoemaker, 8,500 for Fried. I haven't seen him specifically, but I'm assuming Fried picks up a decent amount of ownership. Going to check on that really quick. Just seems like a good price for a guy who can get some strikeouts. No, I mean, not even in the teens right now. What do you think of pretty low-owned Max Fried here for 8,500 going up against the Blue Jays?
So being on Atlanta, I was kind of worried about the pitch count, but it looks like he went 90 in his last game. He's a good strikeout pitcher, about 23% I have him at. So those are some pretty good numbers. So he definitely looks like someone that you can play in your lineups tonight. I guess, sorry, I got to update this. He's about 25%. So he looks like he's a 2x play, and that definitely is going to be someone at that price point of 8,500 who isn't too expensive to price you out of the stacks you want. So he makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I've noticed. So the one thing I'm worried about with playing like some of these mid-tier pitchers is oftentimes there's like one or two favorites, and then you look at the top pitchers tool, which is a new tool on the site if you guys haven't checked that out. The top pitchers tool is the same thing as the top stacks, but it's just with pitchers. It compares the ownership to their chance of being a top 2 pitcher because, on DraftKings. And then I think a top 2 pitcher on FanDuel as well, but you only start one over there. And some of these mid-tier guys that get 25, 30, and they start creeping up 40% ownership some days on these bigger slates, they come out as very over-owned. And so I'm glad to see Fried doesn't look to be very owned right now because I like the spot. Yeah, I've got him closer to 25% dating back to the start of 2019. A lot of righties in this lineup, especially at the top here. He's going to get 4 to 5 righties: Bichette, Gurriel, Vlad Guerrero, and then probably Grichuk. But I like it as a big favorite at home. Maybe the righties will scare some people off. And I think Fried is going to be a pretty big staple of my lineups at 8,500 here.
Yeah, one thing that's worth pointing out here is that it seems like on DraftKings and Yahoo, they really price these guys up where they're quite expensive, the hitters in this game. So they just must have mispriced this game where they thought the total was going to be a lot higher than it is, because I'm only seeing a 9 total on the sports books.
Yeah, I'm seeing just over 9, so right around there. What about the Braves bats? Another good total, not going to really jump off the page. Braves bats against Matt Shoemaker, or I guess Shoemaker if you got the stones to do that at 7,900. What about the other side of this matchup?
Yeah, Shoemaker seems like he could be a little bit intriguing because I'm guessing the weather conditions in this game must be pretty good with the team total where it is. But he did miss most of the last season because of that line drive he got hit with. So that was kind of, or was that 2 years ago? I can't remember. But
man, I can't even remember. Everything runs together.
Yeah, it's like 10 months since any baseball, so it's hard to remember all the backstories here. But he He has decent strikeouts, 22% over limited season last season. He had, 4 in his first game, so that's not exciting, but not bad. So I could see taking some shots on Shoemaker here.
Did you see how many pitches did he throw in that first start? I guess because in baseball, like half the battle early in the season, and especially this season, is just which pitchers can go 5 or 6 innings. Did he throw a decent amount of pitches in his first start?
He did, yeah. He went 6 innings, 22 batters faced. So, let me look. I guess I could. I need to figure out where on FanGraphs they have the pitch counts because
it's always been hard to find.
Yeah, do they have that? Do you know?
I'm sure it's somewhere, and it's probably a place where I'm just not looking. But yeah, I always look for that, and I can only find the total batters faced. So I usually have to go on like Baseball Reference, Google the name, go pull up the player page, pull up game logs to try to find the actual pitch count. So if someone knows a way, put it in chat, and that would help us out greatly.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It's kind of annoying to find the total number of pitches.
So 81 pitches. That's a little bit less than you'd expect for 22 batters. So it looks like maybe he just kind of ran good.
Okay.
There's some variance in getting guys out quick because the average at bats like 3.9 pitches. So pretty much you can divide the pitch count by 4 and get how many batters you're going to face. So about 20, that'd be about 5 innings. So not super inspiring if you're thinking about Shoemaker.
All right. And then let me go back to my sheet here. So would you target any bats against him outside of the normal, like Freddie Freeman at 5,100 against a righty? Matt Adams, is he appealing to you at all? $3,800 first baseman. I guess you can't play him and Freeman together. So for stacks, if you go with Adams over Freeman, you might be different for the Braves. Probably wouldn't be going out of my way to leave Freeman out of the Braves stack, but that's just me. What are your thoughts on the bats on either side here?
I think the Atlanta is a good contrarian stack because they are priced up too much, but we know that they have a lot of talent. On average, their lineup, projected lineup today has 15% more power than your average lineup. And the top 5 guys all can hit it out of the park for sure. So I think that they have a lot of potential. And then their price just way too high. Like on DraftKings, the average price of these first 5 guys is like $5K. So with a 5.2 team total, like I don't think people are going to really want to pick them. But you and I know that that's exactly when you want to move in because you're competing with only 2% of people when you have this stack, and I have them with a pretty good chance of being one of the highest scoring of the day.
Nice, I like it. Another anti-optimizer play. I don't know if this Miami game is on the. It is on the.
It's on FanDuel, but not DraftKings.
Okay, so I see it. Pulled up a DraftKings contest. It's on there. It's not X'd out like it usually is when a game gets postponed.
It's weird because maybe they just added the game because when I downloaded the salary file earlier, it wasn't in there and it was causing all these errors in my spreadsheet. Yeah. But it does look like they added it. So
interesting. All right. Well, we can talk
weird
about it.
Because it has Caleb Smith as the probable starter. I had Pablo Lopez. So
Lopez as well.
I'm not sure what's going on with this game, but it looks like maybe by the time everyone's listening to this show, like it'll probably be right. So, or we'll figure out that we were wrong. I don't know which one.
Yeah, I'm seeing Gausman, or I'm sorry, that's a different game. I'm seeing Caleb Smith and I'm seeing Lopez as well on DraftKings. So I have no clue. I know Pablo Lopez is 7,600, but this isn't really a game we're probably going to target all that much. If Smith is pitching, $6,600, and this game ends up being on the DK slate, that looks pretty interesting to me. A guy that just gets a bunch of strikeouts. I haven't looked at him, obviously. yet to see if he's fully stretched out or if there's a pitch count on him. But 26% strikeout rate going back to the start of last season against Baltimore at 6,600 would be really appealing if it is him. And then if it's Lopez, 7,600 priced up a little bit more. He's okay. John Means on the other side, I'm seeing at one place. I'm also seeing, or actually no, it is Means from two different sources. I'm looking at
MLB.com has Lopez too, so I think that just ignore Caleb Smith for now.
Okay, yeah, so a lot less interest in Lopez there. Means at 6,400, proud like the Orioles opening day starter, right? And he's at home against Miami, and he's a favorite. Can we get to him at all at 6,400?
I forgot that he was supposed to be the opening day starter. That's right. Miami is a much improved team this year, even though we know that they're kind of decimated due to COVID. But let's see, their lineup today actually looks pretty solid, and the over-under in this game has them at 5.4 runs. So I have to imagine, now that we know these guys are in the player pool, that Miami bats are going to be really popular, and John Means, I don't think people are really going to play him. He's probably one of the worst pitchers coming off injury because we just can't trust the innings.
Yeah, fair enough. Means doesn't usually light the world on fire, even though he's one of the best that the Orioles have.
Well, he got scratched from that first start, so we gotta really be concerned about the pitch count unless we hear he's good to go.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I forgot he got scratched. I just know he was supposed to pitch. It just feels like every day there's like 5 or 6 guys that get scratched. Can't even keep track of really who's playing until DK comes out with the slate or SuperDraft comes out with the slate. So just be aware. I think we're good on that game. Let's go to the White Sox and the Brewers. 3.8 implied total for the White Sox, 4.3 for the Brewers. Lucas Giolito and Brandon Woodruff, both priced pretty nicely on DraftKings. 9,100 for Giolito, Woodruff 8,300. This one looks to be closely contested. Brewers about a -125 favorite right now at home. White Sox have been one of the scarier lineups, I think, this year to target against. You saw what they could do last night to the tune of you winning 100K. And then Giolito, who was a guy we've been targeting or playing in DFS a ton over the last year and change. So what are you doing here with pitchers? Seems like quality prices. Seems like there's some strikeouts on both sides. And, man, this Brewers lineup does not look as good as what it did maybe last year. But we do have Sogard, who is a pest, leading off potentially, and then Yelich. So there are some good hitters. Talk about Giolito and Brandon Woodruff here.
Yeah, I think this is a good pitching matchup because Woodruff has been one of the better pitchers this year, even if he doesn't go super deep in games. And then Giolito, he had an amazing season last year, so he's definitely someone that we like in fantasy. And as you mentioned, I mean, Milwaukee's lineup today doesn't look quite as tough. They're still a good lineup, above average, but we see that they have a 4.5 team total. Their power seems to be a little bit less today. The bottom of the order is pretty bad, so I feel pretty confident with Giolito at 9.1K. How are you feeling about him?
Yeah, I like it. Surprised to see that Giolito is coming in lower owned than Woodruff right now. I mean, Woodruff has really good K stuff too. I always forget. I get him and Hauser mixed up, and I don't even think they look anything alike. But for whatever reason, I don't watch a lot of Brewers games. He always surprises me when I kind of look at his numbers. 30% K rate almost. Really good xFIP, 3.2. Like, this guy is really, really solid. The problem is just the White Sox and how much power they have. 1 through 6, you could even include Mazara in there, whatever you think of him these days, 3,700 for him. But the White Sox as a leverage stack, I'll be looking to play some 2-mans and maybe even get up to some 4 and 5-mans of them. Woodruff is awesome, but I think this White Sox lineup is really, really good. So that's the only thing I'm worried about. And then the ownership, he's going to be in about a third of lineups is what we got him projected for right now. Giolito at just over 20% looks really solid to me. Hopefully can get some strikeouts near the bottom of this Brewers lineup. So I like it here for pitching. I'm not against Woodruff, but I think I'll probably be overweight on White Sox stacks against him, especially if his ownership sticks.
I kind of like it. I mean, I think Woodruff is a good play. It does seem like the temperature here is going to be low. It's 68 degrees, so that mitigates the Miller Park advantage. But we know it's a good park for home runs, so I do like the leverage play too. So it's probably a game where you want to have a little bit of both sides. It looks like pretty much no one's going to be on the White Sox, so if they get past that starter and run up the score a little bit, it might compound because then they're going to face a lot weaker pitchers, and that's not really encapsulated in a median projection.
Can you expand on that a little bit more? I think so. That's something that we always talk about. Like the projections on the site are median projections, median outcome. So it's about 50-50 whether or not they're going to get there over the long term. Whether they're going to overperform or underperform that actual projection. But people fail to think about like the high, like the 90th percentile outcome or 75th percentile outcome. Like a lot of these teams pretty much have the same upside in terms of total runs they can score, right?
Yeah, I think the projections are all based. I guess the median was the wrong word. They're all means. So that's one thing I do a little bit differently is like if you look at team totals, for instance, on different sites, like the ones I post on the lineup builder are always way higher because on average teams outscore their on average, like the median is about 10% lower than the mean. And that works for the projections too. So the thing is, when you're calculating the mean, it's based on this run total that I have in here. So let me pull it up for the White Sox. It's 4.3. In today's game, that's significantly below average. So I think that in your typical game, Woodruff is going to pitch about 60% of the game probably. Okay. And that is going to yield a pretty bad result for the White Sox because he's above average pitcher and the weather conditions aren't good. But if he gets bombed in the first and second inning and he comes out, then he's going to be replaced by a significantly below average pitcher because they're just going to throw in their bulk reliever who probably isn't any good because they're saving their good guys for close games. So that is one reason why you might go to a team with a lot of talent that has a bad matchup because like most of the time it's not going to work out because the matchup sucks, but then that matchup changes based on the game flow. So if you're predicting, if you're playing for like outlier performance, just looking at the mean projection might not tell the whole story.
Awesome. Let's move it on to the Royals and the Cubs. We've got 6 games remaining, so we'll try to fly through these. And then the NBA show with Laffy and Alex will be on right after this. So we won't be going too far. Just go to the YouTube channel, like and subscribe to all the videos, including this one. You're going to want to subscribe because we've got a ton going on today and for the next few months. And then right into NFL, there's a lot going on. So hit the subscribe button, show the host some love, give him some likes, and let's do KC and the Cubs. Singer, Hendricks, looks like it's pretty cool weather pretty much all across the board. In Chicago, it's going to be about 70 degrees, a little bit of wind blowing in, so not a Wrigley game, Wrigley wind game right now, but got a couple cheap pitchers, $6,900 Singer, $7,700 Kyle Hendricks. Any interest in anything in this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think Hendricks looks like a really good play. The team total with Kansas City is the lowest, which is it's nice because it's usually pretty hard to pick up points by just pitching innings that are clean. And that's really Hendricks' game because his price tag usually exceeds the strikeout potential. But the factors that I really like here are, as you mentioned, the weather is cold and the wind is helping and not hurting the pitcher. And the other thing I like is that the Royals have a couple guys that are easy Ks. So I'm looking at their lineup projected. Franchi Cordero, he strikes out about a third of the time. Brett Phillips, if he plays, Adalberto Mondesi, these guys strike out a ton. Soler and O'Hearn. All in all, I think that's going to equal an extra point probably for Hendricks. So he's priced as if the weather conditions are probably going to be average, but they're really favorable today. So I think that Hendricks will be a pretty sick play. But it looks like he's the most popular pitcher on the board too. But how are you breaking down Hendricks today?
Yeah, I mean, I like him just from a raw point perspective. Really good value, actually one of the better values on the entire slate. I just ran a crunch with 200 lineups and I got him in over 50%. So without factoring in ownership, he looks great. Factoring in ownership, I mean, he's up there with Woodruff and Luzardo as well. Bunch of guys bunched up at the top in the 30+% range on DK. So it's a little concerning. He's not the highest upside pitcher. He did have a massive performance in game one, so maybe he's got a little bit higher upside than I'm giving him credit for. He went 9 innings, complete game shutout with 9 Ks. So that'll probably be his best start of the season by far. But you're looking for like 17, 18, 20 DK points. And pitcher ownership, I'm a lot more willing to kind of tail that than hitter ownership. And I think you're the same way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the way I see it is like the 7,700 price tag. You're basically getting a guy with a similar projection to Corbin at 10.4K. And that extra $2,700 on DraftKings, that allows you to be more contrarian with the rest of your lineup. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you just spend that on Coors bats, you're going to have a similar lineup to everyone else. But if you spend it on Atlanta bats that aren't as popular, then maybe we're working with something interesting.
Yeah, love it. Any Cubs bats stack or individual players you want to mention here against Brady Singer?
I think the weather is the main issue here because these guys on the Cubs side are all actually pretty expensive. So if you're paying for expensive guys that are in a game that's 70 degrees with bad wind, like you're just getting a bad deal, basically. Let me pull up SuperDraft because we haven't talked a ton about them. The Cubs have about a 1.4 multiplier. The Royals about 1.7 on average. So you are getting a little bit of a advantage there because the Cubs team total of 4.8 isn't bad. And if you're getting 1.3 times the number of points, I can see that adding up pretty quick.
All right. Yeah. I mean, and if you guys want to go check out SuperDraft, again, promo code Awesemo10 is what you should sign up with to get some free SuperDraft cash. They've got the $5,000 moonshot, $1,000 to first place in their $15 tournament. And not a lot of sharks max entering this. It's only 11 max. So I think you can compete with just a couple lineups. They've got lower dollar stuff. They got the $500 solo shot. And then they've got the nickel as well. If you want to practice some MME, 140 max in their nickel contest for today. Possibly some overlay. We'll see once we get closer to lock. The live before lock crew, yourself and Spags. I'm sure we'll be talking about SuperDraft a lot more. Let's go to Coors. We've got a 5.3 implied total for the Giants, 6.8 for the Rockies. It could be Gaussman. It doesn't matter that much. I don't think we're playing whoever is pitching for the Giants. Marquez going for the Rockies at $8,100. big favorite, but a 5.3 implied total against him. How many Coors bats are we playing on this slate, Alex? Looks like they're going to be pretty popular.
I'm taking a hard look at the Giants here because it's kind of a similar logic to what we were just saying, where Marquez is a above average pitcher, but this is Coors, and if he does get blown up, you have batters that are in pretty much the best park, best weather conditions because of the air density being lower in Coors Field. I mean, I'm pretty much mansplaining at this point to anyone watching because you guys all know this, so my bad. But I don't think they're going to be a popular play tonight because they just cost so much, the Giants. And you can get the Rockies basically the same price. You have a much better matchup versus Gaussman.
Yeah, so the Rockies, I mean, they're a little bit pricey up at the top, but you're probably not going to stack up 1 through 5 very often. Kemp, Owings, and Walters, they're not great, but they are some salary savers. So those guys might get a little bit increased ownership. So I don't mind the call with the Giants specifically. Brandon Belt, $4,300 in a righty lefty matchup, batting cleanup in Coors. Hard to do much better than that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like a pretty good value at that price. So that's definitely a guy you can have as a one-off or as part of a stack. And it does look like the ownership will be somewhat similar to the top stack percentage, but I have San Francisco as being the second best. Since it's in Coors, so that's not exactly a surprise. But one nice thing about Coors this year is we get the DH, and that allows you to make more combinations of these stacks because there's 9 players instead of 8. So I think that allows you a little bit more flexibility and less overlap with the field.
Giants bats. You mentioned the top stack tool. One of the favorite tools from our subscribers on the site. About a 10% chance of being the top stack tonight, and just 5.4% ownership. So those are the kind of things you can see with the top stack tool. The Colorado side, really high chance of being the top stack, actually. But they're getting owned like it. So taking advantage of some of these stacks that look under-owned is a way to guarantee yourself, guarantee that your lineups will be a little bit different based on some of these teams that you can't get to for whatever reason. Not a great matchup, anti-optimizer play, just way too expensive for their total. Those are the kind of plays that can help you win big. And those are the kind of plays that have helped you win big. Let's go to Texas and Oakland. Actually, I think maybe I'm going auto order here. Oh, no, we're in the right order. Texas, Oakland, Lance Lynn, Jesus Luzardo. $9,900 for Lynn. Bit pricey, but low total against him. 4.2 runs for the Athletics. 3.4 runs going up against Jesus Luzardo. And $7,600. He's decently stretched out. I think you said before the show, Alex, 67 pitches. So maybe you give him 75, 80 here. Minuscule total going up against him. Can you argue at all with the Luzardo chalk here?
I think he's a good play. Yeah, I mean, let me pull him up. The one thing I noticed when I was looking at his information, though, is that last year, if you look at MLB, he faced 46 batters and he had a 35% K rate. But that's a small sample. The bigger sample was at AAA. He faced 131 batters with 26% Ks. And since it's easier to get Ks in AAA, I think that maybe some people are overreacting to those relief appearances in MLB. And I think that he's a good play because, I mean, 25% Ks is pretty good. But at 7,600, I don't think he's like a superior play. So he's someone that you can mix in, but I'm definitely going to look to get contrarian at the rest of my lineup because we got to be concerned about the pitch count because he's a relief pitcher, and I'm not really convinced that he's an exceptional strikeout pitcher.
Yeah, he's kind of in that Hendricks mold in terms of today's slate. So not a great strikeout pitcher. Maybe some people are overrating his strikeouts based on what he's done in the minors. And, in that mid sevens range on DK, 30-ish% ownership. And this will change by the time we get to lock. So I'm giving away the numbers that are behind the paywall for now. But it looks good going up against him. So if you think he's a good play, there's a lot of strikeouts in this Texas lineup and pretty cool weather, under 60 degrees in Oakland. So looks like a fine play to me. But again, like Alex said, just get different with the rest of your lineup if you are going to some of these chalkier pitchers, or specifically chalkier combinations of pitchers, the Hendricks, Luzardo. There's another one that's Woodruff we talked about, Giolito, these guys. Just make sure you're mixing it up with bats a little bit. And a great way to do that is to take some high upside one-offs and maybe avoid the 5-3 stack and go with like a 4-3-1. So that's really all I got for this game. Anything else you want to mention before moving on to Dodgers Padres?
Oh, we gotta get through these in 7 minutes. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Dustin May and Dinelson Lamet, 4.5 implied total for the Dodgers, 4.1 for the Padres. May's at $7,500. Lamet, $9,500. He is a very good strikeout pitcher, as we know. Dodgers lineup, not one that I really want to face when you're $9,500, no matter who you are. Are you just crossing off Lamet here because of some of the other options, or is he low-owned enough where you're going to take some stabs at him in large field stuff?
Crossing him off because the Dodgers lineup just is a really rough matchup, and that pretty much eliminates any advantage you get from picking a good pitcher like Lamet. And the weather in San Diego is 72 degrees, 66% humidity, maybe a little bit. It's not great weather like maybe we'd expect in San Diego for pitching, I guess. So I think that I'm crossing them off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost interested in some of these Dodgers bats. I know some of these guys are really expensive, but Lamet gives up a ton of hard contact. He's had some walk issues. He's at almost a 10% walk rate going back to last season. So yeah, the strikeouts are scary, but if he's not on his game, if he's not getting strikeouts, you've got a ton of power, and he certainly gives some up. So I don't actually mind that, even with the cool weather in San Diego and kind of the pitcher-friendly park there.
Well, it's actually like, I mean, if you compare it to Oakland, for example, Oakland is supposed to be 57 degrees tonight. So like the fact that it's 72 in San Diego might be a little bit less of an advantage than other parks tonight because it is so cold across the slate here.
Yeah. Anything on May versus the Padres bats here? $7,500 for May. If I remember correctly, he doesn't really go too deep into games. I don't think the Dodgers let him yet.
Yeah, he's not really one of their key guys, so I probably wouldn't pick him just because you can't count on him to not get pulled at the first sign of struggling. Yeah,
just catches upside so much, whereas a guy like Hendricks or even Luzardo or some of these other guys in his range can go deeper, even if they're and just be way more efficient plays than May. So I think we are good on that one. Astros and Diamondbacks, 5 implied total for the Astros, 4.6 for the Diamondbacks. Christian Javier against Madison Bumgarner, 6,500 for Javier, 7,200 for Matty Bums. Anything you like in this game? This is one that I don't think this one's going to have a ton of ownership. Maybe some Astros bats get popular here. I'll look up Altuve and see if he's popular.
For some reason, the Astros are really popping in our ownership projections. I'm not really sure why, because they don't seem like a great play to me. Because I mean, their team total of 5.4 is pretty modest for them, but yeah, people are on him.
Yeah, I guess I'm wrong here. Some of these guys are getting a little bit of ownership. Gurriel, 3,700 is cheap. Brantley, his pricing is always broken, it looks like, on DK. I don't know if the roof is going to be open in Arizona. I doubt it is because it's going to be over 100 degrees. But if for some reason it is, then yeah, the Astros look like pretty good plays. But they're getting owned at kind of a high rate. Javier at 6,500. Any interest in him against these Diamondbacks or the Diamondbacks bats going against him?
I think he's a decent punt pitcher because of that cheap price tag and the fact that he actually does get a good amount of strikeouts. Let's see. He's struck out 9 batters over 20 out of 24 this season. In AAA last year or AA last year, 39% strikeouts. So he just gets killer strikeout numbers. He went 20 batters in his last game, which indicates that he's pretty stretched out. So I think Javier is maybe your boom bust play tonight. Do you like him?
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. He struck out a bunch of Dodgers, I believe, in his first start of the season, which is really tough to do, as we just said. And obviously a much less scary lineup going up against Arizona here. So if that roof is closed, 6,500 for Javier. I like him as another value arm in there. I think we are good on that one, unless you want to talk about Astros bats at all. Otherwise, we'll do Angels, Mariners, and then get out of here so the NBA show can start.
All right, sounds good.
All right, let's go to Seattle. Angels, Mariners, 5.3 implied total for LA, 3.8 for Seattle. Don't know who's going for the Angels just yet. It's Justin Dunn going for the Mariners, who threw 65 pitches in his last outing. So I guess he could go, again, in that 75 to 80 range. Big total going against him in Seattle. You don't often see that. So Vegas doesn't think much of him. He's a pretty big dog here. And then Mike Trout, probably going to be back in the Angels lineup. Any interest in $4,900 Justin Dunn? I know you like to punt with some of these cheap guys.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, he seems like maybe if you really want to cram in some expensive bats, he seems like an option because at 4,900, as long as it's not an opener or something, I think you should really consider them. But not a great pitcher by any means. But I mean, it's hard to go up against Trout with his new child narrative. I mean, like that's some good juju for him.
Yeah, it's at least a double dong. So if the goal is solos, maybe Justin Dunn can sneak out 5 innings, a couple strikeouts, and just get you to more Coors bats or something like that. That would be the reason you play Dunn. It's not because of his win equity or anything like that, or because he's very good. It's just, can he throw 70 plus pitches, maybe get you to 5 innings if things go well, and allow you to just load up on bats and get a different line of construction. So nothing great to say about Dunn other than his sub 5K price. Again, make sure he's not the opener. I'm assuming he's not. He threw a few innings in his last outing, so I'm assuming he could go 4 or 5. Probably not a guy you should start a ton of your lineups with, but if you need a complete punt, might be in play here. Anything in this game you want to mention, or are we all good?
The Angels stack looks pretty good, but I mean, they're probably one of the best stacks of the night, I'd say. So they're definitely going to be some guys I'm looking at.
All right, that's going to do it. 10 or 11 games, I think 11 if you include the Marlins and the Orioles. So we broke it down for you. Shout out to SuperDraft. Go play over there. Go support SuperDraft. It's really nice to not have to worry about salaries over there. When you do join, promo code Awesemo10. That's how you get some free SuperDraft cash. They've got the Moonshot. That looks like to be a favorite tournament of mine. $1,000 to first, and a nice flat payout structure over on SuperDraft. So they're doing good things. Go support them. They're doing unique lock times as well. So you've got chances. Like, you don't just have to play on SuperDraft. You can play on your other sites and then head on over to SuperDraft. Take advantage of some of that overlay NBA strategy show coming up right after this. Shout out to Jordan behind the glass, always doing a great job producing. And don't go too far. Head to the Awesemo YouTube channel. And Alex will see you there in about 5 minutes. Good luck tonight, everybody.